right, who wants to hear about high-octane adventures and the latest and greatest on the motor scene? It's time to rev it up with John and Jess on Joy 1340.
Welcome back to Rev It Up with John and Jess, coming at you on Joy 1340 AM and 98.7 FM.
Did you make it in okay today?
I did. And for those of you watching, you don't have to adjust your phone. John is wearing the exact same shirt he wore last week, so don't be confused. It's all right.
It's not the same underwear.
How would we know?
Well, because you don't do the wash like you're supposed to.
Or do I?
Well, no.
I don't dress you, though.
But what do I take care of? What do you take care of?
We're not going to get... This is going to be like an hour-long show. We ain't got time for that.
Well, this weekend, so just so everybody knows, Jess usually does my wash on Sundays, I think it is. But she's been slacking a lot lately. So can we get that new housekeeper?
Yes.
That'd be great.
Please.
So, anyways, we won't go there because then everybody's going to start bashing me on Facebook again. Like I don't treat you nicely and everything else like that. So,
look at... He makes me work at his house.
Oh my God! Yeah, my house now. Okay, whatever. We don't even go there. Suckle. Anyways. So what are we talking about? We've
safety.
Got safety because we have a great guest with us today. Mm-hmm. Would you like to introduce
one of my favorite people, actually?
Scott, you're one of your favorite people?
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't recognize Scott, because they don't see him at our shows.
Right.
So Scott is like our, I guess you call us the head chief, right? Or safety.
Safety.
Yeah.
Try to be.
So as our shows get bigger, everybody says, we started out as a car show event, but obviously there was motorsports, and that's why we wanted to start doing this, because we talk about many years of Great Lakes Dragway, Slinger Speedway, all the stuff that I grew up with as a kid, and motorsports. That's why we wanted to make this car show come alive. This is something that a lot of people don't realize that is overlooked so much, and it's the safety. We have to have EMTs at our shows, we have to have fire department, and you have to have a safety team that know that. You can't just have volunteers to do this either, by the way. So that is why good friend of the family. And I actually met you through my brother, Randy, right?
You guys have known each other for a couple of years, right?
Oh, he's known Randy forever.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, this is Scott Finco.
Yes.
Everybody.
A.K.A. the Finkmeister.
That'll go.
Did you like that? Did you like that? Was good.
The Rat Fink.
The Rat Fink, the Rat Fink kind of guy, yeah. We've actually had Rat Fink up last year. We had
really?
Yep. We had him up last year with Brandon Brown. Elrod brought him up.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, so, yeah. So we actually were getting more and more crazy things. As we know, we had a couple fires in the burnout pit.
Yeah.
And Scott was always loving what we do because Scott's right next to us. You're right in Cedarburg.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did you just help last year, or was it the years prior?
Just last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just last year, because he kind of was giving me little hints online saying, hey, you're kind of getting out of hand, and you got, which, don't get me wrong, I love Jackson Fire Department and everything else like that, but Dad's a Jackson Fire Department, which is great, and our EMTs, but we're now getting more involved with the racing, and now this year we're going to add a live monster truck show, which they bring in their safety team. I was telling you that the other day. And with everything we have going on, he looks at so many things that I think I do pretty good on safety, but he overlooks the track. He overlooks everything like that. Like we had a little that stake sticking up over there. So basically, give us your background. How did you get started in all this?
Well, it started back in the 90s. I was hired on the Menominee Falls Fire Department.
Okay.
And then became a lieutenant on there.
Okay.
And vehicle extrication instructor, and I was. It just brought interest to that, to the aspect of the fire department in terms of vehicle fires and stuff like that. And then I went to Slinger Speedway.
Okay.
Joined that safety team. I was on there for like 13 years.
Okay, which and then Slinger.
And then Slinger Speedway.
Slinger Speedway,
and
which
then
the
last 8 years, I was a safety director on there.
Was that a full-time gig there, or was that part-time?
It's part-time.
Yeah.
Just your Sundays, but then we would have training. And,
Okay.
And then I was hired by some other tracks and continued my education.
Yeah.
My background with all that. So all together about 20 years.
20 years doing it.
In just racetrack safety.
Just racetrack safety, yeah.
And so that's pretty much how I got into the.
How you got into doing it.
Yep. And then
so a lot of people that don't realize, we're Wisconsin based, that people listen to our podcast and everything. Slinger Speedway, you and I were just talking last night when you were at my shop. So Wisconsin has two of the oldest, well actually, I I think 3 of the oldest tracks in the country now, right? So State Fair Park, Milwaukee Mile is the oldest track in the country, right?
That's what
In the country?
In the country, yeah.
Yep.
Really?
It's in the country, yeah. And you and I talk about the history because we love the history of racing.
It's a great track. Yeah.
It's a great track, so that's why. And you've met Ian of course, from State Fair Park. We just talked to him, so that started out way back when. And you gave me history on this last night. So Scott is also not only a safety guy, but we love history. That's why we can get lost in conversation for hours, right? And so you were telling me last night that Milwaukee Mile they started racing horses there, right? Is that what it was?
That's what I've read.
Yeah.
Yep. Even before it was, for wheeled cars and
and stuff. And my dad actually raced there when it was a dirt track before they paved it. Way back.
What did he race?
A stock car.
Okay.
A vintage stock car. Everybody did back in the day. He raced there, and that would have been the early '50s, I think, before they paved it.
I think so.
Because Dad was 18 and 57, and he was racing down there with Gene Schwischer and all the guys.
Yep.
When they were racing.
I've heard the name. Yep.
And Slinger Speedway is, correct me if I'm wrong, that's the fastest quarter mile in the world, right?
That's
that's what
they say.
That's what they say, yeah. So we
got.
got some great history right in Wisconsin.
But when it comes to the firefighting at like racetracks versus like structures, like structure fires and stuff like that, it's a completely different. It's a completely different firefighting. You have more fuels that are, in terms of the rapid extinguish. You got the rapid extinguishment. You have to put the fire out a lot quicker.
Yeah,
because it expands and grows really, fast.
And the thing that you taught me last year is we were asking about you were telling me so much about the foam thing. You were really adamant that I had a foam canister, I think, for the cars in case they would crash.
Right, and Purple K. There's
Purple K, and I mean, there's so many things that we're learning as promoters now.
It's different type of It's a different type of firefighting.
It is
than structure.
Are there certifications in racetrack safety, or is it all more like firefighter related courses and education?
On track, if you have a safety director, there's training that you do specific training, and for that track, there's actually different types of firefighting.
Okay.
Because you got your big speedways versus your smaller tracks. You can get there quicker. At the smaller tracks, the bigger tracks it's a completely the response times are different. So it does play into part. The firefighting is a little bit different.
Right, it's different.
It's hard to explain. It's really hard to
cars
explain.
on one track, and I think we were talking last night. We were watching some YouTube and stuff last night, and Zyler was over, and he was really educating her. She was really intrigued because she was really interested in the cars that I think she was interested in, not the Indy cars. She was interested in someone else she was talking to us about last night. But it's a different aspect no matter what track you're at. And you volunteered at some great tracks too over the years. And I didn't know that, but on some of the bigger tracks, which you educated me on, each turn has their own group of trucks and stuff like that.
Oh.
They can,
They can,
yeah.
And there's some trucks that, like you said, when you're doing slinger and some of the other stuff, running the tools and stuff like that, like you were saying.
Right, and that's a big thing that I'm trying to educate other tracks.
Okay.
Because I pay attention to YouTube.
You're a detail guy for sure.
I'll go on YouTube and look up car fires at racetrack fires, and there'll be new ones that pop up on YouTube, and then I'll watch how they fought the fire.
Okay.
How the fire was spreading, just the characteristics of that, and then I'll analyze it, and then see if I can put it into my own thoughts on how I would do it, and how I would fight the fire or what I would do different.
Okay.
I mean, there's always mistakes.
Yeah, there's always something.
There's always room for improvement.
Absolutely. There's always something you could do a little bit better.
Yep.
But if you don't analyze it and you don't look at it and really study, I'll watch it 5-6 times. And just keep looking at it, and it's.
That's really interesting. I mean, it's when you go through. One of the things I think when I really started learning about doing the shows, as my shows got bigger and as Motor Mania grew as a team here, as we're doing, and Jess got involved, and we had the first year we had maybe 1 or 2 small engine fires because people go in that burnout pit, and you were talking last night. It's really neat to watch, but these guys their adrenaline gets going, guys or girls, wherever it is in there, and they don't realize what they're doing to their motor, and the smoke's in there, they can't see their gauges, and oil lines get hot, cooler lines get hot, and things blow, the diesel blow up, and then you got fires everywhere. So, and I think it was it 2 years ago? We had the big fire? We had the fire where the SUV burned to the ground at Motor Mania. And it was a friend of mine, Jim Cesarick. He's listening. He was doing it but the oil cooler lines got so hot, and that truck pretty much burned to the ground. And we had that on there. And Jackson Fire Department did put that out, but you have to be really careful, and that is why people who are listening to us now, sometimes, and I get bashed as a bad guy, even though I'm the promoter. I have to walk the pit with my crew to make sure they stay away from those blocks, to make sure, because those people go crazy in that burnout pit, and it's all about safety. And you were, I'm really thankful that you joined up with us and with all the stuff, and made sure you got to make sure track is clear, and radios. We're investing in radios and all kinds of stuff. It's really turned into a different animal.
A production.
And the thing about a fire, it starts small.
Yeah.
And if you have to call the fire department or they're not there, you got 10 or 15 minutes for the response. You could have had it out.
Mm-hmm. You could have had it out with the right stuff.
Quick.
Yeah, and
quick.
I think one of the things that I always realize, I think it's with anything, people get nervous and their adrenaline goes and they don't know what to do. We had one, I think it was at my fall 2020 show at the Milwaukee Mile, actually, and we had a guy with a brand new Chevy pickup. Came in, it still had the window sticker on it. He was just doing burnouts like crazy.
Really?
Yeah. I don't think you ordered that one at the Milwaukee Mile, but he kept going around, and you get a couple thousand people cheering you on as you're going around, and you think you're a rock star, so you just keep going. And that's what happened to these people, and we love that. That's what we want to do, is make people have a good time. But as the truck kept going around, we saw, even though it was sunny out, I could see red hot lines in the firewall, and I knew it was the cooler lines, the oil cooler lines that are coming through there. And we kept, trying to go like this, and we hit the air horn and do whatever. And this guy just had his hands out the window. I mean, he wasn't paying attention to anybody. And we tried to instruct them, even like you saw when we were doing the racing, tell everybody where they got to go. And there's a shutdown, please shut down. And but some people don't pay attention, as you know. And the truck started on fire, and our safety team was out there. At least Milwaukee Mile safety team was out there. So they went over to extinguish it. What is the first thing the guy does? He opens the hood. In which
oxygen.
More oxygen, yeah. And so instead of having a small fire, it burned up everything underneath the hood.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things to learn when you're doing that, and that's why we only keep ourselves at certain lengths of that. I'll try to get involved, but nowadays I'm turning all the professionalism to people. We'll flag a race or we'll do that stuff, but that needs to be done to the professionals, which is where you come in.
Yep, it's what I love.
Yeah, you definitely do love it.
And it's in my blood.
Yeah.
It's in my blood, and I really enjoy going to some different types of tracks and stuff throughout the United States, and just spread safety.
Yeah.
So when you were at Motor Mania, you have to forgive me, because like what I'm involved in Motor Mania is what I'm involved in, and everything else is kind of like I have no idea what's going on, right? So were you the one at the top of the track for the 300-foot drags in that little tent area?
He was underneath the tent in his little UTV.
Okay. And so what types of things do you bring to keep there in case of an accident or a fire?
Well, we call it water cans, but there's foam that's mixed with the water. It's 2.5 gallon water extinguisher, stainless steel. Bring a bunch of those, and then a Purple K extinguishers, which is really good for fuel fires also.
Okay.
And a few Halligan bar and a few smaller tools to make a rapid to help extricate somebody out if they're in the vehicle, like if they can self extricate but they can't get out.
Right.
You can just maybe pop something open.
Sure.
But then the main command would be turning it over to the local fire department.
In case anything happens.
If something larger happens, you still call the fire department.
Absolutely.
Yep, just to back up.
To do the backup. And Scott's at the starting line, of course, what's going on, so then we can call him out, because we, of course, last year we had Ryan and Kyle, who did an excellent job at the radios, and we were talking about, again, things we need to improve on, because our show is getting bigger, so we need better radios around the grounds now, because it's getting so big for us, and safety is a big thing. So we have to have that going on, and Scott will have his UTV out there, but now which you and I are actually looking for another UTV, so Ryan or Kyle can have it on their end with some of the stuff down there, because in case the cars finish at the finish line, or the big end we call it, and they're going down and they're waiting in the return line, and something pops or starts a fire there in the return line, you get 5 other cars.
Right.
We want to make sure of that. So we got to make sure
it's good to have a chase. I would call mine a chase vehicle.
Yes.
So you can get there like lickety split.
Yeah.
And get there really quick.
And some people don't really pay attention to an ambulance or whatever, and we've seen that at such big events where they're trying to get through if you don't have that ambulance or safety team on each side.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so
It's
we want to
hard.
make sure of that because we love bringing people what they want to our shows and events, but
Safety.
safety is huge.
Yeah.
It's just-
Even your other tracks, like other places where they do something like Motor Mania with the drags and stuff.
yeah.
People that go there, they don't, but they should pay attention to
Oh,
what other tracks have for safety.
yeah.
And I've been ridiculed and told to be quiet and shut up.
Oh, sure.
When I brought up to other tracks in the United States,
Yeah.
small tracks, and I brought it up to them, and they pretty much
They're
didn't
like, no, thank you.
Yeah, they didn't care about the safety
Well,
of their own track, and it's interesting.
Nobody cares until there's actually something
Well, I
going
don't
on,
think a lot of
right?
people realize
It's
the
happened.
things that can happen, and this is, we always love having a good time, but there's a lot of seriousness involved. I mean, we had Goddard with the mullet machine.
Mm-hmm.
We had a lot of fun with that. You remember that?
Mhm.
And I think it was wasn't that you were supposed to ride in it? Wasn't that what happened?
Yeah.
I just remember that.
Yeah, I was supposed to be in it.
Yeah, so last
Safety
year,
guy.
last year everyone was the famous mullet machine.
Yeah.
That was at the show, and we had our equipment on the big end in the pit down, my skid loaders and all that stuff down there, and everybody's having a great time. And he pulled 30 wheelies that day.
Yeah.
They were in there from Fox 6 to you to Julie Kramer, and Scott's like, he goes, "Hey, can I just get a ride in this thing once?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So he finally takes it off, and I grab his headset. I'm like, "Yep, go ahead." And all of a sudden he wants to go do it, and that's when the axle breaks. As soon as Scott hops in it, it breaks like this and falls aside. I'm like, you had to get in it. You
So
had to get in it. So
Now, can I ask you how much you weigh? Because no, just there's a weight limit.
it wasn't me.
Wasn't
because
you in there? Yeah.
we all know that vehicle you can't have anybody over, what is it?
200.
Over 200. So I was not allowed to go. So whatever.
Wow.
Yeah, build a better vehicle when you come to my show, you loser. So
But even the first year, that you had Motor Mania 2020, before I was involved, remember I got in the back with Justin
yes.
in the burnout pit, and
Yeah.
it's my first time ever in a car, and he hit the wall immediately, which
Yeah.
sucked for me because I didn't get to participate in the burnout. But it flashed through my head. I'm like, if this car were to start on fire, like I felt like I was trapped in the back, like in a tuna can. So
and that's where
yeah, people don't think about it until something happens. It's like, oh, wait a minute, like what are the options here if
mechanical.
something happens? Yeah.
It's mechanical.
And as you're like Justin, I mean, he's an amazing showman. I mean, he's a wheelman like no other.
Right.
But when he was giving people rides in the Impala, and he was already, I mean, heck, I think the kid got 800,000 views or something the first year he was out. It was crazy. And then you hopped in the back, and I believe you had Maddie.
Two other people were back
You had Maddie
there.
and Herman with you, Chris
Yep.
Herman, right? So he finally gave him a ride, and it was the first year in Motor Mania. It was 100 degrees outside.
Oh,
it
it's
was
terrible.
just crazy. It was nuts. We're exhausted that weekend anyways, but that first year was crazy. And Justin went out there, and I said, just be careful, whatever. So he went out there and he did it. He was in that pit 100 times over the weekend. I guarantee it, with that car or anyone else's. But what happened is the heat got out, and as you know, racetrack guy, heat, track, stickiness means more traction. So instead of greasing around with the tires running heat up, he went all the way in the corner full bore and tried to whip the car around, and it stuck. It stuck on the pavement. So then when it did, it basically grabbed in the rear quarter of that car, went into the concrete barrier and hit
Wow.
the rear quarter. And she was in the back seat. That was her first ride in a burnout car. So
Wow.
still to this day, she's like, I still haven't gotten to be able to do a decent burnout.
No.
But
Somebody
again,
needs to take me.
those things like that you really need to have that stuff. And I see a lot of shows go on around the country, which I never name shows, but I mean, they really need to realize when we're doing stuff, and I love it that people are kind of taking off from what we've brought back to the table now here with burnout pits and drags and all that stuff, but get your safety teams out there. It's something, it's a huge thing that you have to do, and that is where we try to bring it up, even with the kids drag racing on the streets and stuff, where we bring in safety, but you need a whole other team for this. It's not just a volunteer that's got to sit there with a fire extinguisher from an arch. It doesn't work. You got to do that, and you've proven that to me a lot. I mean, you show up, and I think even people realized how well we're at, because you show up in a full your fire suit. and a helmet
Yeah,
on.
I do remember the fire suit.
For sure.
Yeah, it's part of your PPE.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like anything else.
Yeah, you got to have it. Yeah, you got to have
Yeah,
it.
the shorts and the t-shirts is
That's a no-no.
that's from the 70s.
Yeah, that's from the 70s. It doesn't have one guy anymore.
Nowadays, yeah, you're dealing with different types of vehicles now.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them, they're not metal. A lot of them aren't metal anymore.
Right.
So they can start up quicker. Also,
Yeah, and we had a good question for you last year. We had because last year we had a couple from Chad from Charisma Customs. We had a couple of Teslas in the battery powered cars, and I think we asked you about that. If those cars start on fire, what's your and you're free your own opinion, so go ahead. So go ahead on that.
Let us have it.
Well, what's interesting is the tracks I'm affiliated with, but I can't talk about it. But
of course,
there is electric cars that are going into
the racing,
the
industry.
Professional circuit.
Yes,
and
that's going to change a lot for your safety teams.
Well, I have like 65 certifications in terms of safety on racetracks.
Yeah.
There's like 5 more that I'm going to have to take with the electric cars that are coming into the circuits, and the training's it's pretty wide open. There's no set ways to put out a fire on an electric car. Mm-hmm. And it's crazy. It's crazy that they don't have a solution for that now. They're already putting the stuff out.
Right, they're putting it out on the racetrack, but you don't have a solution to put out.
It's get the driver out, and pretty much some of the training we have is let it burn.
Just let it burn in the ground.
I was going to say there's probably some wrong ways to put out an electrical car.
There's things they're dabbling. There's things they're dabbling with now. They're thinking about this dunk tank thing. They're I don't know if it's going to come out, but it's a box, like a roll-off box, like for a dumpster.
Yeah.
And they're actually thinking about where they'll take the vehicle, the car or whatever, and they're going to drop it into a tank.
Like if it's on fire, they're going to do it?
Yeah.
Well, how would they even get it up?
You gotta have like a forklift or something, like a telehandler, and like it's going to be...
Right, so if you're on a big track, so they're saying there's like in the middle of the track, they're just going to put this pit.
It's crazy. But they don't even know yet. So this is all like...
These are just ideas that people, again, that just throw it, let's see what sticks to the wall.
This is in the incipient stage, right? But
go fire up the forklift and get that flaming thing into the box.
It's coming, and...
That's so crazy, man. But so they're willing to throw this out there because, again, I'm sure it's dollars amount in sponsors. I mean, they want to throw these cars out, or these race cars out there. The race cars out there. But if there's not a tragedy, like we've seen so many of these things with, Ford, Tesla, everybody's doing the electric car. Mm-hmm. And with the batteries that are out there, there's no way to put them out. That was...
The lithium is crazy. It just keeps going. You can't...
And there's really no... So Jess had a good point. So there's obviously bad things that throw in a fire. Because you can't just throw water on anything.
No.
Well, water does put it out, but you need 15, 20. They don't even know how many thousands of gallons. There's been cars that are put out with a lot, like truck after truck, to put the fire out.
For one car.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy, isn't it?
And you're talking 500 to 700 gallons on a truck, 500 gallons or better.
I was just going to say, so what's the average truck?
And the trucks are just fire trucks are just they're trying to put the fire out. And the other way you can do is you dig a hole and put it in a hole, but you can't do that because you got utilities along the highway.
Oh my God!
So everybody's like, just dig a hole and just throw it in the hole and bury it. No, you can't do that.
You can do it at every track. Have a graveyard. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
This is all brand new.
But then don't you have the soil contamination factor on top of that?
Yeah, it's so many things that seem like it matters in so many other departments, and obviously that gets into a lot of other things besides our regular genre of going into politics because of the whole thing that some people can get away with and some people can't, which you always
but they're testing blankets to put over the whole car.
Okay.
One of the things you need is oxygen to keep something going.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they got this cool, big, huge, thick blanket they're testing. They're trying everything.
What was that?
So we can go up to the car and just put this heavy blanket over the car and try putting it. So they're testing. So.
And what was that movie with Sylvester Stallone and Sandra Bullock? Demolition Man. Do you remember that movie? Remember when he crashed into that fountain and the whole car filled up with foam?
Oh yeah.
Do you remember that? Where he came in and he had to bust out of the foam because he was all ticked off because the car was driving and he drove in it. So that just made me think of that. What is the future?
Maybe.
The goofy 80s movies, we laugh about all the time, but it's the weird thing, like the whole COVID thing. It happened, Now you got these cars that drive themselves, and now they're going to be foam filled, doing whatever. That's the one because you always say about the foam, and it really, I've seen all the stuff, and it was amazing, So
yeah, it's interesting. It's a really cool thing to be involved with.
Yeah,
with the safety with racetracks and how it's evolved over the years and where I've gone in the last 20 years.
You've been all over.
It's it's what do you call it? Pinch yourself. Is this It's really cool. It's pinch yourself fun.
Yeah, you really, I mean, when we talk and you really educate us on some really neat stuff.
And I got to leave it, generic type thing.
Which and just
I
so everybody who's listening, and we'll probably, if it's okay with you, do you want to talk for a little bit after the show?
Sure.
So what we'll do is we'll go through and that stuff. Is it okay with you, Justin, in there?
He gave me the thumbs up.
Yeah. So our regular airtime is up on the radio station, but for those that are tuning in on the podcast, we're going to keep talking with Scott here a little bit because we have a lot more questions for him, obviously, and doing that stuff. So those who are listening can join us on 98.7 FM or 1340 AM, Joy, and then stream us live on broadcast. So we're at, Jess?
Stream us live on broadcast?
On the stream the live broadcast.
Well, we're on our Facebook page at 2 o'clock on Sundays, yes.
So follow us on there. So we'll get off the air here. But for those who are listening, just keep tuning here because we're just going to keep talking right now.
Okay.
All right. So
see you guys.
All right. See ya.
Have a good day.